So welcome again. Thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to learn from this awesome group of experts that is here to help you feel comfortable and capable of putting together a really strong 1-minute video for your round 2 submission. You all have met me, so I won't introduce myself, but I will let you know or introduce our other panelists. We're really grateful to have Greg Littman, Kevin Besikoff, Sharo Bagchi, Sean McEntee, and a couple of our division winner alumni, Margaret Chow and Sarah Zhang. So do all of you panelists in this order just want to say a quick hello? Your video will get spotlighted for the recording so everyone can see you. Greg, do you want to go first?
Hi, so I'm Greg Littman. It says here that I'm at US Bank. I'm a content marketing manager there, but I spent the first 29 years of my career at WCCO TV as a producer, and then went to Storyteller Media and Communications, where I ran our content marketing and video production agency, doing the sort of videos that we're talking about here. And now that I'm at US Bank, I do similar work overseeing content and also working with some agencies that charge us way too much to do the sort of videos that we're talking about here. And I can tell you that the price and to some extent the production value that you can bring working with somebody who's inexpensive, or your nephew, etc. Frequently the difference in quality, witness me talking about us being charged way too much for the work, it can be very minimal. You can do really good video with today's tools without it costing an arm and a leg.
Awesome.
And I will explain that to you in a little bit.
Thank you, Greg. Kevin, do you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. My name's Kevin Besikoff. I'm a partner at Lurie. We are a CPA firm here in Minneapolis. I am in our entrepreneurial services group. So that group works with companies, everything from startup to the time that they're getting ready to go through succession, and everything from getting your books and records set up with accounting to getting your valuation done for an exit, and everything in between, all the tax and accounting planning in between. Really thrilled to be here. This is one of my favorite presentations, and I am a judge in the general division. Thank you.
Sharo, would you go next?
Yeah, absolutely. And then first of all, congratulations to all the semifinalists for being here. It's an awesome. The Minnesota Cup is an awesome program, and to get here is really terrific as well. So congrats. I'm Sharo Bagchi. I'm a partner at the Maslin Law Firm. I co-chair our corporate and securities group. And a significant part of my practice is representing startups, emerging growth companies, new companies, sort of figure out how to be a company, figure out how to operate as a company, and then when they're ready, figure out how to sell or grow as a company. And I work hand in hand with accountants and bankers to make that happen. So I've been doing Minnesota Cup here for a few years, most recently in the life sciences division, and I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Sean.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean McEntee. I'm a partner at the Maslin Law Firm. Proud to be here. Maslin and myself have been involved with Minnesota Cup since its formation, being a sponsor every year. So we're excited for the semifinalists that are here today. Without repeating Sharo's pitch or background, he and I practice in the same group, representing as part of our practice startups from kind of cradle to a sale event or going public. Love working with entrepreneurs. I'm a finance major from Carlson and went to the U Law School, so heavily invested in the U community. Look forward to presenting as much information as we can to you today on videos. So thank you.
Awesome. And last but not least, Mark, and do you want to click? We'll be coming to you a little later. We'll make sure that you get introduced as well.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Margaret, and I'm here today with two of my other team members, Sarah and Matthew. And last year we competed in the 2020 Minnesota Cup, and we won the youth division. And we're really happy to be here today and help you guys out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Sarah.
Go ahead, Sarah. Sorry, Sarah, to interrupt you.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and like Maggie said, we won the youth division last year with our company BioBev, and I'm excited to help answer everybody's questions today.
Awesome. Well, get moving, kick off some of the basic information, sort of get some of the questions you may have out of the way. I'm going to cover this really quickly and then hand it over to Greg to share some of his more professional experience and insights around video production. I just wanted to let you know up front that it is important to shoot for as close to the 1 minute length of your video as possible. Technically speaking, we say that the judge is only required to 1 minute. If it's 1 minute and 6 seconds, okay. If it's 58 seconds, it's okay. It can be difficult in the storytelling process to knit together or find the perfect little segments to cut to get it at like 1 minute exactly, but just know 1 minute and 30 seconds is too long. 3 minutes is way too long. So leave it to you to figure that out and make sure that it meets the criteria, but if it's way outside that criteria, then the judge isn't required to consider it. Some people are really, some of like our sellers really want to make sure that everything's fair. So just want to clear that up. We also really strive with all of the work we have you complete as Min Cup semifinalists. Everything that we're having you submit now in a little more than a month, on July 25th, we want you to be able to use it in other ways. So think about, as you're watching some of these examples or you're listening to discussion, think about how you could potentially use the video you create for us as a marketing tool or as an explainer video on your website. You know, everybody is coming from a different type of business, whether you're selling a product or if you have a service or like a SaaS company, or, you know, there's a huge range of sort of use cases or needs for video, but it's very rare nowadays to encounter a successful company that has not leveraged it in some way or made some type of investment in either money or energy and sort of hustle to leverage video successfully to help grow their company. So you don't need to make this just perfect for us, but really think about how can you get the most value for your own business out of this deadline that we're giving you. Also, this is going to be one of those times where there's a lot of different ways that you could approach creating this. You could completely outsource it. You could pay someone to help you decide what you like, to consult with you on what the story should be, to film it, to edit it. Like, you could have a lot of fancy graphics and sound. There's so many different options, but it's, as Greg mentioned at the beginning, it's really powerful what you can accomplish with free video editing software and an iPhone. He'll give you a couple of other tips, but just having a mic and an iPhone is, you know, you could spend less than $100 and have a really, really high quality video, or just use things you have and get help or share resources, do some Skillshare with people in your own network that do this. And it's really not the goal, or it's not the expectation we want to set, that you feel like you need to spend thousands of dollars for you to submit a presentable, successful video to us. That's totally not the case. So just want to set the level set in those areas, but I'm excited to turn it over to Greg to kick off the advice and sort of expert portion of this session. And Greg, I know you introduced yourself already, so I can maybe recap this as you get your audio turned on and get started. But yeah, Greg now does work for US Bank, but has had a very fantastic career, really doing all of his work in video producing, storytelling, consulting on this work for other entrepreneurs who are in your shoes. So we're super excited to have him back.
Thanks, Jessica. And back when I was producing newscasts, I would have been thrilled when the co-anchor jumped in like that to cover for the other person not having their mic on. And the other thing is that I have served this role. It's either the 4th or 5th year that I've talked to the semifinalists about video. And so, and much like Kevin, this is one of the more fun days for me, because it's always exciting to talk to you folks and then to look at the finalist entries later and see what types of videos everybody did. But my goal would probably be, and I think, Jessica, do we have one slide? I want to keep it really simple for you folks. The most important thing in that minute, and that minute can feel really short and daunting if you think about it, but on the other hand, it's a lot of time if you think about it. So in that minute, tell your story. And when I say that it's short and daunting, obviously you don't have a half hour to talk about your story, but you do have twice as long as the average commercial that you watch. And think about the way that when you watch a commercial or when you watch other 1 minute video, scripting, and possibly music underneath, that you've walked away with the key talking points and you're in complete control of it. So my big pitch to you would be, make sure that you have a beginning, a middle, and an end to that 60 seconds. Spend them wisely, use proper storytelling techniques so that people can follow along, which is beginning, middle, and end. And in most of these types of videos, that is introduce the problem, create context right away so that they know what you're talking about, then introduce the solution. There's got to be a better way. We have it. Explain it in very simple terms so that your audience can understand what you're talking about. Don't use a whole bunch of jargon, and don't sort of make assumptions about that they already know your product or your company, because they don't. And then the call to action is either it's an introduction of who you are, it's how to contact you. It is the summation, so to speak. And think about it. We take these same approaches to so many things we say. Those same ideas, and then just also you should make sure that it flows. Beyond that, there's a million ways to skin a cat. There's each of your individual stories will be a little different. And when we take a look at some video examples, you'll see different ways that folks have attacked this 1 minute, but it's really 1 minute to tell your story. When I'm talking to folks who are not semifinalists of the Minnesota Cup, I have to urge them to not embellish their stories, make sure that, you know, what they talk about is something that they really can deliver on. By virtue of being semifinalists of the Minnesota Cup, we know that you guys have good stories to tell. Does that make sense?
I think it does, Greg. It sounds like for a lot of people you cut out briefly in the middle, but I did hear most of what you said. So I know that you'll circle back around to these concepts. You know, I don't want to have you try to guess and repeat everything you just said, but maybe when we go through those example videos and you share some feedback and answer questions, you can just jump in with it and sort of reiterate a couple of those points that you made, just to make sure that for those who didn't hear you, that they get the gist. So yeah, if that's okay, I'm gonna close up these slides. I'm gonna stop sharing briefly, and I'm keeping my camera off because I don't want to contribute to the audio issue. But I am going to start pulling up some of those example videos and share. And if just so you all know, on the BioBev team, I'm gonna play your video first so that you sort of are teed up to answer questions or sort of speak to that experience too. And just putting you on notice so you're not surprised. Okay. Hopefully you can all see that okay. Sorry about that, everyone. It's just the jinx of my sound day. I'm gonna try to play this differently so that you all can for sure hear the sound. Give me 1 second. Okay. Some of you are being very kind and telling me how I can fix it, so thank you. There we go. I got it. I think I got it. So I'm going to push play again and let me know if this works.
Over 150 million Americans drink coffee, resulting in 146 trillion coffee cups being thrown away annually. Many of these cups end up in landfills. So what's so bad about that?
Plastic waste not only harms millions of animals, but it's also not good for us.
I notice a lot of plastic waste being created these days, especially in public places.
With our busy lives, what's a convenient way we can all easily reduce plastic waste?
BioBev is the best alternative to single-use cups that coffee drinkers are looking for. Unlike coffee cups on the market today, our cups lack a plastic lining that only degrades in special facilities. Our team's mission is to help consumers integrate sustainability into their daily lives by distributing eco-friendly cups to coffee shops. Help us save our Earth. Join BioBev's effort to reduce plastic waste, one cup at a time.
Awesome. Well, fantastic job, BioBev team. Before we jump in or maybe have you all turn your camera and sound on so that you can speak a little bit to your experience or sort of the decisions you made when you were actually going to do the work of putting that video together. Greg, any reactions or anything from your original points you'd echo or sort of enforce about what they did well?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious that they used that time-honored formula, right? They started by saying that there's a problem, and by the way, it's a real problem. Then they said they have a solution. They explained the solution. And even at the end, they had a specific CTA of, join us. So if I were grading on the how to follow the rubric for doing a perfect 1-minute video, you guys did a great job.
Awesome. So just to run a couple questions by you, if Margaret and Sarah and Matthew, others from the team want to have the spotlight for a little bit, would you be willing to share some information for everybody on the line? I'm already seeing chat questions come through. So if you do have questions for this team, please use the chat. Hopefully they'll be able to answer all of them, but just talk us through a little bit how you all worked together, or how you decided to start the process of writing a script for what you were going to say, deciding what should you record versus what should you use stock video or images of. Like, all those things would be really helpful to hear more about.
Yeah, so just to kind of introduce you guys to how we made our video. If you want to rewatch it, it's up on our YouTube channel as well. And we mostly worked on it within our team, specifically Matthew, who is here today, kind of put together the entire video. So I saw that there were some more technical questions in the chat that he could answer, but definitely kind of following the formula that Greg mentioned. We had that beginning, middle, and end to our video that definitely helped us get our message across. And we promoted our social media and website at the end as well.
So yeah, I just go through some of the questions in the chat, I guess. For stock footage, I just looked online for free stock footage. We used a Videvo or something. So when we made this video, we were sort of debating whether or not to use stock footage, or should we record actual people talking. And then we realized that with COVID and everything, we didn't have a whole lot of money to run with, and we didn't really have a whole lot of time to meet together. So we decided that stock footage was the best way to go. So all you have to do is just look up online, just free stock footage, make sure there's no copyright, and make sure everything's legal and it's free to use. So all the editing stuff, I used DaVinci Resolve 16 for this video. It's a free software online, and you have a lot of different sort of capabilities to use. You can do there's stock set transitions. I know you're talking about transitions in the questions, or you can make your own transitions using just various parts of the editing software. And then moving text and images, that's just using the software.
Awesome.
One thing that I would suggest, it's really easy to start getting lost in the transitions and the moving text and things like that. And Matthew did an excellent job with it. If you don't know what you're doing, you can really kind of turn your stuff into looking like cable access really, really quickly. That the basic structure that they used and a bunch of the really thoughtful decisions that they made on what type of video to use and where are easier to replicate than knowing what you're doing with the transitions and the movable text. Although the flip side of things is that most of those free softwares also do a really good job of letting you preview and show things to your friends and say, hey, does this work, or is it looking a little cable accessy? But just keep that in the back of your mind when you get too worried about some of the transitions and elements versus some of the storytelling techniques that they and some of the other folks have used.
Yeah, one big thing our team really focused on was we cared a lot more about what we're trying to say and what our message was, rather about how good our video looked. So that's why we decided that we could use stock footage, because as we felt as a team, as long as we got our message across, we got everything we needed in there. As long as the video looks somewhat okay and it's cleaned up pretty well, it shouldn't matter.
And what's really interesting about that is because you led that way, that's what led you to having a really good video that had all of the other elements. You know, they were the really nice seasoning in the meal, rather than sometimes people kind of lead with the seasoning and not the meal.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that, and also about what Ms. Berg added on earlier, we didn't really spend any money to make our video. Like Matthew said, he used a free software, and the people that you see in the video were just like local people that we surveyed and who fit our target market. And we just had them speak for free. They were really we were really grateful that they like volunteered to be in our video. And I think that by just networking and reaching out to different people, that you can make a really great video. And no one on our team had any video making experience except for Matthew. So that definitely helped a bit, but you definitely don't have to spend a lot of money on the video.
How much time did you guys spend reviewing your video? You know, like Matthew showing either folks on the team or friends, etc., to try to get extra target market input, so to speak.
I think I made my rough draft and then I sent it to the team, and then I think we had like 3 or 4 days just for some feedback, and then I went back and tweaked some things before I submitted it.
It's a really big part of the process, and all of you semifinalists, that's where you bring in your friends, the folks in.
Oh, and Greg, your video or your audio might be cutting out again. Is that what's happening for others too? Okay. Shoot. Greg, I hope I haven't jinxed you. Do you want to try to talk one more time and see if we can hear you? I think cut off at like where you bring in your friends, you bring in others who can give you feedback and support you.
So besides making sure that it doesn't look cable accessy, so to speak, the number one question to ask your friends and family when you show it to them, ask them what message they got. Ask them to repeat to you what they learned about your company. And if the things they say aren't the things you're hoping that they will say, that's another point for revising.
Awesome. Well, does anybody either in the chat, or I thank you all for sharing resources and for continuing the conversation there. Definitely we'll be aggregating some of these tools and links, and we'll be sharing it in the Google site. But do you have any other questions that you'd want to run by the BioBev team while we've got them spotlighted? Otherwise, we'll share a couple of other video examples and talk about them. Danny, do you want to unmute and ask your question? I think you just raised your hand.
Yep, I have a question. So how would we create like a video if we don't have like an actual physical like product yet?
Yeah, that is a super good question, and one that I can speak to in one of the other video examples. Certainly when you have a physical product or you have something to visually display, that's going to be important. You know, people want to be able to see your product, but I think BioBev team, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but was that in the video your actual prototype at the time for your cup, or were you just using some, like, had you done your big manufacturing run yet before you shot the video?
So before we were able to get like the order, we didn't have a lot of money on hand. So what we did is we got the samples from our manufacturer and used that in our video. Specifically, if you look back at our video, we have a diagram, and that's something that would be really good to include if you don't have your product yet. Or even if you do have your product, it's nice to have a little diagram to point out what is new or special about your product that's different from things that other people have already seen on the market.
For sure. So that's a great idea. And again, it's hard to generalize this without, knowing your exact specific stage. So we could always talk about it in sort of on an individual basis if you need some feedback or want ideas. But there's a lot of other ways that you can tell the story or point out features, or, there's a lot of other types of videos that you could think about if you're at the stage where you're so early that your product doesn't exist yet, or you might not be selling a physical product. You might be offering a service or doing something online that's really hard to visualize. And there's definitely some ways to approach that. So that's a good question though. Anyone else for the BioBev team?
I see a question in the chat that says, what stage is our company at?
Oh, sure.
So since Minnesota Cup, that was where most of our funding came. Kind of the reason why we didn't spend a lot on our video is because we didn't have a lot of seed funding before the competition. And after that, we've done a lot with just working with our manufacturer and delivery services to get our product to our customers. Specifically, we'd reach out to like hundreds of just local coffee shops, and kind of like what we're doing right now, we do a little bit of mentorship. If you guys want to, if you guys have any other questions that you think of after this meeting, you guys can always find us on our website, which is www.biobevcups.com, and find different ways to contact us for help. And just in general, we've made a lot of progress with the support that Minnesota Cup has given us. Also through the competition, you get some mentors, and it's really good to just stay in contact with them for any help that you need later on, because that was how we ended up legally registering our business and etc.
That's awesome. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time and sharing this behind the scenes sort of how to. It's really, I know it's really helpful. You see a video and it can be intimidating when you've never done something like this before to think of where would I even start? So just to hear some of your experiences and your willingness to share some of the tools you used is super appreciated. So yeah, feel free to stick around. I'm going to unpin you so that we can start sharing a couple of the other video examples and then pivot our discussion over to some of the MinCup judges and other panelists. But would love to have you chime in if there's something else you noticed, or if you want to keep answering questions, please do that. So I'm going to share my screen one more time, and then I'm going to show you, just because we had gotten that very logical, thoughtful question, the first video that I'm going to share, or the next video that I'm going to share is, sorry, bringing it out of full screen. I'm going to show you someone who did more of an illustrated explainer vision.
Renew and refresh the home you love with the help of CertaPro painters.
Sorry. Okay, here we go. Here's Homie's video. So this is, I mean, this is something that I'm sure they did pay to have someone help them with. So it's not that this would be a free or super low cost option or example, but this is just a great other sort of direction you could go with your video.
Meet Felicia, a senior in college trying to find a job after graduation. She starts applying online, but quickly realizes that jobs don't fall into your lap just because you checked all the boxes in school. After applying for a ton of jobs and not hearing back from any of them, Felicia starts to feel like she's sending a ton of resumes into some black vortex of resumes. Everyone tells her that she needs to network and find a job. They keep telling her that it's not about what you know, but who you know. Unfortunately for Felicia, networking feels like emailing strangers and asking for jobs, and she has no idea where to start. What Felicia doesn't realize is that campus recruiting is broken. 92% of recruiters use LinkedIn to hire, but only 40% of students have a LinkedIn. It's because LinkedIn doesn't apply to college kids who are still in school and don't have any work experience. Companies only have the resources to hire from a handful of target schools and can't send a recruiter to every college in the country. But the fact remains that there are smart and motivated students like Felicia all over the country who are just as qualified. What Felicia can do is meet people who also went to her school, who are working at companies that interest her. These are people who understand how tough it is to get a job fresh out of college. By hearing the stories of how they built their careers, Felicia can start to piece together her own career. She ends up with a group of awesome mentors who are willing to take her under their wings and show her the ropes. That's what every college kid needs, and Homie's mission is to help make that happen. Goodbye, Felicia.
Awesome. So I love that too. Oh shoot, my audio is doing it again, guys, sorry. I always have to just close the video as soon as it's over. YouTube loves to just replay things. Greg, would you want to share anything about that style? You know, does anybody on the line have questions or think that an explainer video like that might be a good fit for the type of business that you have? Certainly we see that a lot with people who have software as a service businesses, or maybe a business to business service where there's like the problem and solution maybe is a little bit more complicated, or would just be really tricky to like video something that would help explain it. So would love to hear your feedback about that style too, Greg.
Yeah. So those are called whiteboard style. So two things. Words and pictures.
Oh shoot, Greg, we lost your audio again. Let's see, I'm gonna have
applications out there as well. That if you Google them, and I forget that there's.
And sorry, Greg, I hear your audio again, Greg, but you cut out briefly. Would you just start? Would you just start over what you were just saying? Sorry about that.
I apologize.
No worries.
So that would be an explainer video, which is words and pictures. But it's even a certain style of explainer video in that it's a whiteboard video. And there are some free and low cost apps out there if you want to do that style. And there are also, I think, Animoto and some of those low cost platforms make it fairly easy to make other types of explainers of words, pictures, and music. On all of them, here's what my overarching advice would be. Number one, make sure that the words from start to finish do tell your story. And secondly, the more you can get to things that are real, the better, only from the standpoint that we all see so many videos in our lives that we understand that an explainer video or a whiteboard video probably means that it is in either a concept phase or it's very much an abstract idea. So that just make sure you apply the right technique for the right type of story. If you have something where you don't have real things like cups and people who've been impacted by the environment, then do a whiteboard video. But a whiteboard video would not have been the right type of video for BioBev. You could have done it as a whiteboard video, but they had better elements. They had more real elements to use. And I'm happy to explain that further to folks if they end up having questions about that. I realize I was a little bit of a word salad about that, but I like the approach. I like using that approach for that particular problem and solution.
Gotcha. No, thank you, Greg. Well, I'm going to show just one more example video. And this is another sort of type of video that we really highly recommend. And it usually works the best and is the most feasible for people who really have been selling something or have worked with customers already. But it leverages testimonial video. And so the very last example I'll share, and then we can get into more direct Q&A, is from Busy Baby, who won our general division last year, but she actually competed in Minnesota Cup 3 full times before she won. So it is not necessarily the expectation that you have to know how to do all these things immediately, or that you'll like immediately have testimonial videos from people, but it's really fun and helpful when you can just have your customers speak for you. Here, just the joys of doing too many things at the same time. And if I misspoke, this company is called Busy Baby. I'm sorry if I got my B's mixed up.
So we take the Busy Baby mat when we go out to eat. We've taken it when we go grocery shopping, hook it over a shopping cart. And then we even put it in our house on the window or on the refrigerator, and it keeps Retta busy while we're getting stuff done. So it's a silicone mat that has 4 suction cups on the underneath side that stick onto the table. And then it has these tethers that you can stick on the baby's toys, teething rings, their favorite toys. And it allows the baby to play with the toys and throw them all over the place, but the toys don't actually fall off. So you're never chasing around toys. Keeps them busy.
We love our Busy Baby mat. My daughter was born prematurely, so I like it because I don't have to worry about germs when I take her places. Yeah, I don't worry. I don't have to bring a ton of sanitizing and other equipment. I can just put the mat wherever we go. And
my favorite part about this mat is that it's so convenient. It's easy to clean. I just put it in my purse and I'm ready to go.
Awesome. I hope everybody heard and saw that okay. But definitely customer testimonials are so powerful, and like having someone else speak on your behalf about your product, how they use it, you're like saying that you're really good at your service, any of those things. It's such a great tool. So any commentary or sort of tips you would give when you're doing testimonial, either interviews or adding quotes from Greg?
So testimonial is the realest thing. It's the other end from the fantasy world that we know we're entering into with an explainer. And Busy Baby did a great job. It is interesting because I used a previous Busy Baby video in one of these presentations, because even in the early going, they did a really good job of using real babies throwing stuff. You know, they illustrated their problem really well with real people. The real people couldn't talk, but they were real people. And they've incorporated the testimonial really well. My suggestions on testimonials would be 3 things.
Uh-oh, you may have frozen again, Greg. Okay, you're catching up. I'm gonna, if you can hear me, take a quick pause. Yeah, Greg, maybe turn off your video, but restart where you were saying, if you're gonna use testimonial, do these 3 things. I think that's where we lost your sound.
I apologize.
No worries.
So if you're gonna do testimonial video, keep in mind that testimonial is not just people saying it's the greatest thing ever. Seeing people using your product, that alone becomes a testimonial. If they say it's the greatest product ever, that's awesome, but make sure that it's legit. You'll be able to tell. So step up to testimonials whenever you can, but also make sure that they are true, legit testimonials, because the camera doesn't lie.
That's awesome. If there's other I'm not sure actually if I'm just not hearing your next ideas, Greg, but yeah, if Greg, if you would just put them into the chat, then I'm going to have the other panelists, the MinCup judges, start to share their screen as well, or not, I'm sorry, turn your cameras on so that we can have a discussion with you all too and get some of your impressions, so that when you're a judge receiving these videos in the round 2 submission, sort of how you experience it, especially alongside the business plan and the pitch deck that gets submitted. So if you all could turn your video back on, we'll get going with that portion too. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna spotlight you so people can see you easily. Or actually, maybe I'll leave it this way for now too, so that if others of you want to turn your cameras on and ask your question verbally, like ask it live, you can. But yeah, I'm just curious. And any judge that is on, I know Susan Murkey from Maslin is here as well, so thank you for taking the time as well, Susan. But Any of your reactions or things that you've remembered from prior years, things that impressed you or things that you would encourage our semifinalists to steer clear of when it comes to the video submission?
This is Sharo. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I guess this is somewhat of a high level, you know, I kind of try to evaluate the video in the context of the broader judging criteria. You know, when I found, I feel like if I were to make a video, you know, I might reflexively kind of gravitate towards what looks cool and sounds cool and that type of thing, which is in my view not necessarily the goal. All the stuff that you talked about and Greg talked about are sort of tools to use, but those tools are to illustrate the opportunity, the plan, the progress, and all of those pieces, because I still want to see that in the video, and you know, the diagramming or the testimonials, those are all ways to show that. So for example, if you watch the Busy Baby video, there's toward the end of it, there's sort of a, you know, there's the fact that it's on Amazon already, and there's, you know, there's the reviews by well-known sources and well-known companies. That to me is great because it illustrates that this product is, other people think this product is good enough to sort of put their name behind or to sell. And so for me, I'm always thinking about the video still in the context of the judging criteria. And you know, I've sometimes seen videos that are either too subtle or visually amazing, but then it's sort of like, I'm not gonna obviously go read the business plan, but I still don't, from that 1 minute, I still don't get sort of the pitch from the video, if that makes sense.
Hey, Jessica, this is Sean. I've a couple things. You know, I in looking at the 1 minute presentations, I look at this as a commercial, right? When I get done, I say to myself, would I buy it? You know, am I sold, right? Was it effective? You know, the two things about videos that I've seen over the years that are just no-nos, and Greg's hit on both of these, but I'll reemphasize them. One is, we've all seen a commercial on TV and we get done and say, what are they selling? Right? What was the point of that, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I have seen that in 1 minute videos, so just be careful of that. It sounds obvious, but be very careful. The second that Greg also hit upon are assumptions, right? And this is in the plans as well, the business plans as well. Don't assume your audience knows what you know. And that's one of the biggest problems I see is, you know, they make assumptions that, oh, you know, of course everyone knows what I know because, you know, this is my product. And sometimes we have no idea what the context is or what they're talking about. Now, one final comment on just because it was last Busy Baby, the transitions in that were fast, effective, and just amazing, right? They showed so much content, so many different uses of that product, but it just flowed, right? And Greg said transitions can be difficult, but they just nailed it. Maybe it was the audio, how it just came across, the overall transitions, but that was just really well done. So.
Awesome, thank you, Sean. That's helpful. What about you, Kevin? Any reactions or things you have liked or not liked over the years? Been doing this for a while too.
For some reason, I'm always partial, and maybe this is just like for years and years sitting in class watching professors like write on a whiteboard. I'm just really partial to those whiteboard kind of videos. It just, something about it really clicks in my brain. That's not to direct anybody on here to do one unless that's something that, you know, fits your product or service and where you are in your phase of development. But that's just me. My personal opinion is I just really like those. I always look for them on YouTube when I'm trying to learn something. You know, I guess I'm kind of a video last judge. So I always look at the plan first and then look at the pitch and then look at the video last. And so for me, it kind of has to be the cherry on top. It has to be that last piece that gets me really excited. And the one thing that stands out on bad videos is when you have to go through, when you literally have to read when you don't understand what they're doing until you actually get to see it in the video. It feels like to me the three pieces should stand alone, and And it shouldn't be that you have to have the video to explain what everything else that you're doing. Probably means you have a really good video, but that's probably the one thing that stood out as a mediocre in terms of a video. But the really good ones really get you excited, and they're not always they're not big. They're not always the big budget ones. They're not always the ones that are a particular format. They're just the ones that, leave you with like you've just saw a Super Bowl commercial, almost that same kind of feeling. Yeah, I guess that's my spiel on that.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Well, I do want to leave the time that we have left for everyone. You all have been doing a great job of asking questions and communicating with each other too in chat. I think we can give it a try to have you all share your cameras if you'd like to. If anybody wants to ask a question either of Greg or our judges or the BioBev team that's still on, please do that. We always have such a rich discussion when the questions are coming from you all too. So you can use the raise your hand feature, or you can just go for it and unmute if you'd like to.
I have a question. This is Lena from Genomics to the BioBev team. How long did you plan for it? When did you start working on it? Did you have your business plan first ready and then shot the video? What worked out for you guys?
I think we had our business plan completely finished before we started the video because we wanted to make sure we had relevant information. And I think in total, the primary edits took, plus with looking for stock footage and everything, I think it took around a week, and then cleanup and peer reviews took a couple of days.
Yeah, so I'm still not allowed to turn my camera, but for our outline, we decided to wait until we finished our business plan first, just because we wanted to kind of look over our business plan and identify the main points that we wanted to emphasize in our video, because kind of similar to what Greg was talking about, we wanted to have a specific storyline to our video so that people would want to watch it. And when we made the business plan first, after that, it was really easy just to write a script and figure out what kind of the storyline was going to be, because we had kind of a frame set up already.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a great question, Lena. I'm going to go to the raised hands next. Do you want to go first?
Me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. My name is Kristen from Rethink Tailoring. My question is kind of a branch off of what you had mentioned, Jessica, about being able to utilize this video elsewhere. That has definitely been on my mind, especially since I am in the clothing realm. So much about it is storytelling the garment, which is vertical. And so we've also managing all the algorithms on social media has been a big pain over the last year, and Reels has been pretty unlocked as Instagram has been competing with TikTok, and that's all vertical. So we've put a lot in order to build our audience. We've kind of hacked that system where we really focus on our Reels, and I would love to be able to use this to honor that audience, but it would require, and I already have footage I could already use. That would be really great for the opening and ending of the video, but it's vertical. So how big of a deal is having a vertical video versus horizontal?
That's such a good question. So we almost exclusively advise people to submit horizontal video, just because in sort of the more the non-social media world, and maybe on Facebook, but for sure with Instagram stories, with TikTok, those are fairly new spaces relative to the history of Minnesota Cup. So for the history of things, having horizontal video has been really important because that's how things view on a computer screen, or it's a format that's very broadly compatible, and it wouldn't give someone a really shrinked view to make it hard to see if they are viewing it through the Unoodle portal or through a laptop. Certainly, like, we all have one of these in our hands at all times. And so I would say that it's not prohibited, but if you do have a way, you know, I know that you have been putting together these fantastic reels and they've been really engaging. And if a lot of your customer base is coming through social media, we don't discourage you from using those like native video formats. Like, please do all of those things, but maybe just give some thought to whether you're at a point where you would have a place to put a horizontal video, whether it's on your website, or thinking about pulling some of that content that's sort of Instagram story or reels native into something that could live on YouTube or a different channel. It's not a no, absolutely not. Like, if you have a vertically shot video that fits the 1 minute criteria, and that's just kind of like that, you can't come up with a compelling use case to have something different, then like, we're not gonna, it will allow it. It's no big deal, but it won't be as, because of the format we use, the judges won't see it in as crisp of a way as they would like a horizontal video.
You know, YouTube now automatically puts the black borders on the side, so they make it easy because they also understand that the market's changing. I guess it's just with a whole wide view, then you're going to get distracted by stuff here, and instead of what I'm trying to get you to focus on. So okay.
I mean, that's a really good question. We can take it offline too, but Greg, do you want to, are you answering that too?
Yeah, because I'm answering it in terms of more than just Minnesota Cup. Right. It's not that's not just a question about Minnesota Cup and its and technical issues. It's a question of audience. And so if you know that the audience for this is likely to be viewing it on horizontal,
shoot, Greg, we may have lost you again.
Greg, I'm okay if you just drop it in the comments too, or in the chat.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, it's a super good question. So
I would also think in terms of that this video is something you can put under your email signature and post in other places. So thinking through a way to tell your story that works on horizontal video without having wings would be beneficial beyond Minnesota Cup.
Do we know like how many people are viewing the stuff on phones versus computers now?
Do you, I'll have the judges.
It all depends.
Okay.
Because for example, there's a 60-40 mix on an awful lot of
shoot. Yeah, Craig, I wonder what the
I don't want to take up more time because I want to make sure that people have a chance. So,
but yeah, Greg, feel free to add to the chat. Otherwise, I can connect you to a few. I mean, because it's a really good question and really
suggest that anybody that's creating.
Right now. I'm gonna pause you there quick, Greg, because I think there's a bit of a lag. So, okay, how about Lino? Do you want to go next?
Thank you. My question is pretty simple. I deal with a 3D product that's kind of coming off the drawing boards, and I'm thinking about doing a 3D animation, you know, if I were doing it in physical space, I could use children's play blocks, you know, just to move stuff around and animate and tell the story. Does that sound sensible for at least part of a video? And does anybody have experience with that? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Lino. I don't have, I do think that from what you are describing, I think that sounds like a great technique or approach to be able to create a visual to accompany the story you're trying to tell. So on its face, that sounds fantastic. I have not worked with a firm or sort of a team that creates those types of videos, but I definitely know some people that I could ask. So if you want to send me an email and just touch base, I may be able to help connect you to some folks, but I think that sounds like a great approach. And I know that we are at time, so if any of you need to drop, please feel free to do so. And I just want to say a huge thank you to our speakers, to Greg and all of our panelists and judges for your time. We can totally stick around though. So for those of you who do want to continue to ask questions, there's no rush. So how about Chester? Do you want to ask a question next?
Yeah, so this is a simple question. When you're doing a video and you have several presenters,
they present themselves with their name and maybe even their function. Is a good idea to put these title captions in the video itself? Because I notice sometimes you're trying to pick up the person's name and they may be unique, or even their title. So, and I'm even thinking sometimes if you present yourself with just your name, and in the title block on a video, you actually put what your title is. So that way you can get more time on your video. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I would say that it might be helpful to know a little bit more about how many people you're planning to introduce and sort of what they're going to say. If you plan to have a video of each member of your team, or have sort of a talking head spot, like how it looks on Zoom when you're just seeing one person's face and they're speaking directly to the camera, then I think it looks great and is no problem to have like someone's typed name or title flash up on the bottom of the video. And that's usually pretty easy to add. I think you saw that in the BioBev video, that
Yes.
video editing software allows you to type text over the screen. I would just encourage you though to think about it in the context of all of the story that you're trying to tell. And you know, as long as you're maybe not having one single person just speak, or like individual people talk to the camera or speak sort of first person the whole video, it can be really powerful to add in voices. You know, I know you heard people's voices, or sort of talk tracks, or the sound on top of video. Or I feel like my vocabulary for this is clearly weak, but you saw the visual and then there was audio and sort of description happening on top of it, and that can be really effective too. So you could always have someone on your team speak to or narrate something, and then you could introduce like voice of so-and-so, CEO of whatever, or VP of manufacturing describes, and then you can show something that's a little bit more visual than just seeing someone's face.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
Really good question. Yeah. Holly, I think you had your hand up too.
Yes, thanks. I had asked in the chat about the judging criteria. I know Charlotte was mentioning, you know, make sure that the video, you know, it's great to have it be slick, but make sure it's like meeting the judging criteria. And so I know on the semifinalist site, there's the video, there's the deadlines for all of the three different submissions. And under the video, it says that you want this video to help the judges better understand our business concept, our progress to date, and how we will turn our ideas into a great success. So I'm just wondering, what is the judging criteria? Is there?
Yeah, that's a super good question. So, and I do feel like it's a good point to clarify, which I can type up a little bit differently or better on the Google site just to make sure that this comes across. But when the judges give you a score in the second round, they give you an opportunity plan and progress score across everything you've submitted, not just on each item. So their score and sort of rating of you that kind of dictates or sort of kicks off the discussion about how they'll decide which 10 semifinalists in each division move down to 3. They consider everything together, and they do score you on opportunity plan and progress, but it's more, they more get like a holistic picture across the effectiveness of each one of those materials you submit, instead of saying this video got a 10, their business plan got a 2, so they average like 5.5, or Kevin will be frustrated by my math, I'm sure, but the that's not how they really give you a holistic score. And so it is, I do think it's actually okay if you don't directly answer the question of, here's how long we've been in business, here's the progress we've made, because if you're going to use it for a marketing purpose, then like that probably doesn't make sense, or your customer wouldn't care about that. So sometimes people do, you know, they're at a stage where they're not selling something yet, or something is a concept, and they do kind of give more of a, in the context of Minnesota Cup, here's what we're doing video, and that's okay. But as much as possible, we encourage someone to make more of a customer facing video, because that's going to serve them best in the long run. So yeah, that's, I appreciate you asking that, because I agree that like from how it's written, that might be confusing on the site. So.
And it seemed like the winning submissions from 2020 were more focused towards customers.
Yeah.
For that clarification.
Yep. Totally. But also too, like we're talking about each one of these elements in its own session, just because it helps go a little deeper and focus and give more tips instead of talking about them as a whole or sort of three. But it's hard to keep that link in your mind from one event to the next, that it's about how the judges perceive all of those materials together when they score you. It's about that they're going to use the business plan, the pitch deck you submit, and the 1-minute video to get the broadest possible and give you multiple sort of storytelling avenues to convey all of that information to them and sort of show up in like the best possible way. And so that does feel, it's hard because it's not like, as long as the video does these 3 things, as long as we don't have that really, really objective rubric, just because there's such a huge variety of types of companies. So I just wanted to plug that into and explain it, because it is tricky to remember and like hold all those things in your mind at the same time while you're working on all these pieces. It's very okay if anybody has any final questions. Oh, Lino, do you have another question? Sorry.
Yes, briefly. Is it polite, required, not a good idea to add a credit slide on the end of the video, let people know that they can do a screen print of it as a way of putting your information static for a moment? And if so, how long would you do that? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I know that the BioBev team did that. They had text on the last slide, so that was up for a few seconds, that had their social media handles and like more of a direct call to action of like, here's where to find us, or here's what to do next. It's really hard for me to say off the top of my head. Matthew, do you remember how long you left that text up in terms of seconds out of your 1 minute?
I think our final sort of like ending with that last sort of video was about 8 seconds for the video, about 6 seconds for the actual information being displayed.
Got it.
But also one big thing is like when the video ends, we had it so when the video stops, our information is still displayed on there. So even if you end the video, you'll still see the information.
Great, thank you.
And one tip that I give to anybody that's making a video for their company is to put.
Oh no, Greg. I just feel like it's such a jinx that you like just are about to make your point. So whatever you were about to say, would you put it in the chat? And I can also capture it and like pull over some of these and some of these resource links and aggregate them on the Google site too. So you don't have to be furiously copying and pasting out of the chat if you don't want to. Awesome. Well, any other questions? And I know whether it's from any of our judges that are still on the line or just other questions you want to stay on and ask me while we have some time together. Otherwise, I really appreciate all of your participation and your thoughtful questions. We're just wishing you the best of luck. And if you, Greg, especially since I'm so sorry we had trouble hearing you in a couple spots, but would be happy to distill down and sort of get some other resources or advice from you in like a typed format that I can share with people after the fact.
I'd like to express my gratitude to you and the hosts and the presenters and the members. It's been a fabulous presentation. I'm going away feeling 10 times better than I was when I came in. So thank you so much.